Well, howdy, and welcome to another adventure here on VintageElectronicsGeek.com. Today we're going to take a peek at this older radio. It is made by Automatic Radio. Yes, that's the name brand. Automatic Radio. Model number is AP-6225 Alpha. The brand I never heard of prior to purchasing this radio. Both the buyer and the seller had no idea what the brand was. So after bringing it home and doing research, I found that yes, the brand name is Automatic Radio and that they have been around since at least the 40s and lasted throughout the 60s. I'm not sure the exact time frame how long they lasted. I know that they had filed some lawsuits against a couple of the auto manufacturers, Ford to be one of them. This radio was an accessory that one could put in their vehicle at the time. Instead of purchasing a car that had a radio in it, you could buy this as an aftermarket, and these radios were tailored to fit the cars at the time. Well, when Ford changed the way how they made their dashes, these radios no longer work, and so Automatic Radio filed a couple lawsuits against them claiming that this is going to hurt their business and they did it deliberately, etc., etc. Well, I think the cases were dismissed, and I think in time the brand eventually retired. This particular radio is kind of cool. It is part of that line where you could put into your vehicle. Looking at the back, you can see we have a port that handles all the inputs, outputs. Now what one would do, there was a cage that this would slide into. This particular model had a full cage. It would slide into that cage. The cage had a security key which would lock the radio in place to help deter against thievery. We had this cable, this port, and with this particular radio operated on 6 volts, 12 volts, and it worked with positive and negative vehicles. So it's really, really universal in its day. Not only that, the radio also works off of 4 C-size batteries, so you could take this portable. They also stated that you could use this in a marine purpose environment. I have not opened this radio, so I don't know if there's any weather sills. In this video, what we're going to do, not only are we going to do an overview at a minimum, but hopefully at a maximum, we're going to open this up, look in it, and see if it's serviceable, and if so, we're going to do just that, service it. So let's do a quick overview on the radio while we're here. On the face, we have nice big dial. The silk screening on this is done on the inside, so it'd make it really nice to come in here and clean the dial up. Mine's pretty good condition. In fact, this radio overall condition is really, really good. It's probably not museum quality, but it's not that far from it. My particular model has no scratches or dings or scuffs or anything like that. We have this big button right here, and as you can see it says push for auto operation. And so when you're listening to it on batteries for portable use, you just push that little button there, and I apparently left it on, and it would toggle between batteries and auto 6 and 12 volt operation. Here we have the volume control and on and off. And I have to tell you, this radio is extremely loud. It's very loud and proud for what it is. And then we have the tuning. Now, even though these knobs are a little bit smaller to my liking, one nice thing about them, as you can see here, that they are knurled. And so that does help it out. Operation of the knobs are really easy. The volume control has nice tension to it, and the tuning also has some nice tension to it. So you're not going to spin across the dial in a nanosecond. But if you're looking to fine-tune, split hairs, this knob and the tension on the dial is definitely going to let you do that. And one other thing I forgot to notate was on the screen we also have a log, or in this case they call it a scale. And that'll help you remember where your frequencies are, your favorite channels are. On either side of the radio, it looks like this right here. On the side here we have a mini 8th jack for an earpiece, and on the other side we have nothing. We already looked at the bottom. The handle is nice heavy-duty metal, hard plastic. The materials on this radio are all metal. I believe even the casing. I think the only part that is plastic is the bottom. And the bottom here is where our battery pack is. Speaking of the materials of the radio, the weight on this radio is about 2 to 3 pounds. It's a really heavy radio. Definitely don't want to drop it on your foot. And seen here, the handle also works as a kickstand, so it'll allow you to view your radio when it's sitting on a table in such a manner. Let's go ahead and turn this on and give it a listen. And this radio does have issues, and that's one of the reasons why we need to tear into it and try to fix it.
Sí, papá, he aprobado. Muchas felicidades, hijo. Lo has conseguido.
It's been extended into the weekend by Russia, but hoped-for medical evacuations didn't materialize. Station for Harness Football, AM 13. Now we're on ESPN 13.
Now, some of the issues this radio has, I'm sure it's because of its age. I don't know if I declared how old it was at the beginning of the video, but this radio came out in about 1967 to about 1968. I'm not sure, might be a couple of years there before and thereafter, but in that time frame I can definitely confirm. The radio sold for $25 basically everywhere, unless you went to Radio Shack where you could buy this radio, and you would spend $30 at Radio Shack. The problem with this radio is when you're trying to listen to your channel, your frequency, they all sound crunchy, you know, like they're compressed. So it probably has bad capacitors at a minimum. Another problem with this radio is when you start getting down below this spectrum from 530 to 900, we have issues where either A, it'll go silent, you hear nothing, or if you do hear things, you're just going to hear static noise, no radio reception, as well as you might also start hearing some channels that are higher up on the band. You'll hear them down here lower in the spectrum. Sometimes also when there's no reception, it's quiet. It's like a loose connection, loose wire, something like that. I'm really unable to replicate it for you or for me. It just happens when it happens. Sometimes I'm able to get it to clean up just by playing with this button. So we're definitely going to clean this button. Now, the past couple of days I have let this radio play 24/7, I think for the last 4 days. Some of the problems had kind of cleared up, but not all. The volume control used to be scratchy. It's no longer. I've done absolutely nothing to this radio other than let it set idle or playing for last several days to help let it reform. And I think it's done that pretty decent, but it still needs a little help. And that's what we're going to do to work on it. So with that said, let's go ahead and open it up and see what we could do.